All right. Well, thank you very much for taking time out of your busy day to join us to learn the hidden power of social media, how to increase Google rank, how to grow your web traffic, how to build community engagement, and how to drive leads and referrals. And, everybody on this call today is in the multifamily housing industry, and you're sitting on the other side of the desk, and every time you turn around, there's a new offering. Somebody's got something in the social media world. A piece of this, a piece of that, content over here, duplicate content over there, and I know it gets really confusing. So one of the goals today is to try to demystify why this is so important. Talk to you a little bit about how you can maximize your opportunity in this new media space, because it is new media, and just try to help you make some sense of it all. So I want to thank you very much again for taking time out of your busy day, and we're going to get started. Again, on the right-hand side of the screen, there is a question box. All you have to do is type in your questions, and at the end of the webinar, I will get to them. So feel free, as you think of them, type them, because you will forget. So when you start to think about any property management or internet marketing issues when it comes to a property management company or on a property manager level, you start to think about those priorities and challenges, and it gets a little bit confusing. The first thing is you're trying to get discovered on the web. And one of the biggest ways to get your listings found are through ILSs, which are a really important part of what you do. Apartmentfinder.com, forrent.com, things like that, where you can list, your properties. And that's really a great strategy. But in a perfect world, wouldn't it be great if you can have someone come directly to you? Proprietary traffic, meaning they're coming directly to your website. Because when that happens, you don't have to compete with anyone else. And now social media is a new thing. It's not really new, but it's gotten really popular over the past 4 years as a great way to help get your content out, to aggregate and reach out to residents and prospects, and also potentially get some new residents and prospects from it. We're going to talk about that as well. But the head pin of web marketing is to get found first. So in a perfect world, what you'd like to see happen is that somebody finds you through a Google search and they enter the funnel. Now they're on your site. Now you're hoping they convert. They're taking some next step, whether it be to reach out to ask about property, come in and talk to the property, email, do a click to chat if you have that feature available, one of those things. Now, at the end of the day, you're hoping that they do what you want them to do, which is actually lease property from you, and then you can optimize that by looking at what happened, figuring out what worked and what didn't work, turn around and do it all over again, the right things, and stop doing the things that aren't working. But across that, there's three really big barriers. You only have so much time. You only have so much expertise in the internet marketing business, right? You know your business like the back of your hand, but internet marketing is getting more and more confusing as more and more things keep launching. And then you only have so much money at the end of the day to accomplish this. And there are tons and tons of ways to drive traffic to your site. YouTube's gotten incredibly popular and has massive SEO value. Lots of social media sites, including Pinterest now, that's popped up. You've got pay-per-clicks that you can do. Lots and lots of ways to drive traffic to your company's website. But at the center is content. Content is king when it comes to traffic and conversion. And one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make is that they spend all this money on their website. They do a great job on it. And the only thing they ever change on their site are maybe some listings and pricing options, but everything else remains static. So we're going to talk about why content is so important, because there are really two paths to social media marketing. You have content marketing, which is a term that isn't used quite as much as social media marketing, and you have social networking or social media marketing. Now, let me kind of explain the difference. This is the official Wikipedia definitions right here. But in a simple way, social media or social networks are where people hang out to look at content, because that's the place and that's the way they want their content delivered. Okay? And content marketing are the things that you present to people to keep them engaged. It's the content that keeps them engaged that you distribute through the social network. You cannot really have one without the other. One of the biggest mistakes that I see people make, and this is where people really miss the boat, is that they focus just on Facebook or just on Twitter. And that's good if you're really only wanting to engage your residents and prospects. But if you want to have some SEO value, there's another piece of the puzzle. And this is why you're hearing more and more about blogs, which we're going to break down in a minute. But blogs really allow you to create fresh, frequent, unduplicated, unique web content, because that's a really important strategy when it comes to driving organic traffic and getting Google and the other search engines to notice you. So that's the first content marketing fact that needs to come into play. But the reason why blogs have become so important is because their management systems make it really feasible and easy for you to populate content regularly. Also, blogs are very search engine friendly, and it presents and organizes that content really neatly. You can tag it and link it, create categories, and it makes it really easy for the search engines to crawl it and create keywords and index keywords so that more people can find you. That's a really important strategy that you miss if all you do is the social media part of the social media marketing and you skip the content marketing part of this focus. Also, we know that well-executed blogging will share earned SEO benefits with your related website. And when you distribute that web content into social platforms, it really exaggerates that organic and direct traffic result because it shows that you're relevant with Google. Now, whether you do this in-house or whether you outsource it, I have to explain something that's really, really important and something that you need to be concerned with. The biggest mistake that people make when they start a blog and when they start to populate content is they use duplicate content. And I can name, I won't, but I know of 3 companies out there right now in the apartment space that are really focused on doing just that. They'll give you duplicate content all day long. It'll be the same content on 500 people's blogs. It gets your price down. But if you do that, it's worse than doing anything at all. And the biggest reason, and this comes back in January and they continue to change it, is from the official Google blog itself. We're evaluating multiple changes that should help drive spam levels even lower, including one change that is primarily affects sites that copy others' content and sites with low level of original content. It goes back to that rule that I just showed you a little bit ago in the 5 rules of content marketing, is that content needs to be original and unique. So if you see a low cost option, you're better off not doing it if they're going to use duplicate content. And here's why. It's because it confuses Google. When Google sees a story posted on several people's websites or blogs, and it's the same story, it's going to try to figure out where it originated from. It's going to serve that one up, and it's going to block everyone else. So it actually will have the opposite effect of what you're trying to accomplish, because they get confused, search engines get confused, prospects will not be able to discover your content very easily. The investment in content creation is wasted when that happens, and search engines again can potentially block that content. So be very, very careful. I call it content farming, and it is a cheap way to get around it, but it's not a good strategy. So really be concerned. Ask lots of questions. Sometimes a deal is truly too good to be true. Now, before I dig even deeper, I have to dispel one of the biggest marketing myths that I come across, and that is that I have to rank very high for a popular query to get lots of traffic. Now, many of you have sat back and said, okay, for example, I'm in Cupertino, California, and I typed in apartments, Cupertino, California, and I am not showing up on page 1. I am not showing up on page 1. Oops, I think we're having a little technical difficulty here. Can you guys still hear me? I was just told I was muted. Hang on. 1 second here. Let me go back and see what happened here. 1 second. Okay. Okay, I am now. Can you guys hear me again? And someone else on this line is unmuted. And for some reason I can hear you, and I don't know why. It might be someone else from the Sherpa team that has possibly logged in. So if you're on the call, please mute yourself, okay? Thank you. So when you think about, aiming for number 1 on apartments, Cupertino, California, and you're not coming up on page 1, and you go, oh my gosh, I'm losing business, I need to explain something to you. You're getting, there's too much competition from sites with massive content value. It's going to be very difficult for you to break through. As a matter of fact, the ILSs are really going to focus on making sure that they come up on those types of searches. And the reason is, it's because Apartments Cupertino is only really a small slice of that apartment search pie. It's also not the traffic that you want, because it doesn't result in meaningful conversation, meaning unless you have the world's best general resource or web page, when somebody goes on that site, when somebody types in Apartments Cupertino and they want to be linked, and they show up on an ILS, for example, that's a good strategy, because someone that types in Apartments Cupertino doesn't really know what they want. And as a result, they want to go to a place that has lots and lots of choices. Put yourself in the shoes of the searcher, because the search engines will. So it's really not the traffic you want. What you really want is someone that's asking something very specific, meaning looking for an apartment in Cupertino, California with vaulted ceilings, right? That's what people are looking for. They're looking for specific answers to their questions, and that's what helps them make the decision on the next steps. For example, when you type in that popular search term, Apartments Cupertino, you can see what shows up on page 1 here, and it's returning mostly ILSs and apartment rating sites and things like that. So hopefully that's starting to click. What you really want to see is that when you type in something like Apartments near Cupertino Theater, right now it's going to start to return some relevant searches. You can even see a Facebook search was returned to a particular community, and so on. That's the type of thing that you want to see happen. Relevant search results that bring back direct answers to people's questions. Again, think about how you search. If you do a search and you don't get an answer to your question, you never go down to page 2 or 3. You continue to refine your search until you get the correct answer. And here's an example of why that was served up. Here's a blog post, Cupertino Theater plans to reopen, and here's that Arioso Apartments blog that's talking specifically about that. Someone who types in, apartments near Cupertino Theater, and a search result comes up, they're 10 to 100 times more likely to click through and go to that particular community's website and take the next actionable item. That's what I mean by content. This is called the long-tailed search. And this comes from Doug Cook, who is search director of Twitter, Yahoo, and the Able Grape. And when you take a look at this kind of graph, what we're talking about here is that 25% of people are looking for popular searches, and 75% are doing rare searches. Let me be more specific. You might think that Atlanta apartments is what everyone's going to type in. Okay? Well, yes, 25% of the time they will. The other 75%, they're typing in things like Atlanta apartments near schools, Atlanta college apartments for rent, tips on good Atlanta apartments for college students, right? Things like that. These are real searches, and this is the way 75% of people search. So why would you spend more money to focus on the 25% when you can focus on 75%? The trick is you don't exactly know what someone's going to type in. So how do you get found if you don't know the thousands of ways that people can type in combinations of words that are relevant to your property? When you take a look and you start to think about how people search, there's a couple of ways that people can get to you. One is through some sort of an ILS or an internet listing service like apartmentfinder.com or something like that, and the consumer goes through there and then ends up at the community. But again, to reinforce what I was saying earlier, if you can get that person to come directly to you, don't you have much more control? You absolutely do, because you don't have to compete, and now you can let your website and what you have to offer stand on its own merit. And when somebody gets to your community from a super relevant search, it even elevates the opportunity to convert. And that's what we're trying to talk about here. Blah, 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 blah. You've been talking for 15 minutes. Will you tell me how this works? All right, I'm going to break it down really simply. This is how I think about Google. Google is just a big file cabinet, meaning it searches and crawls the internet looking for fresh, frequent, relevant content. Now, when it finds that content, what it wants to do is organize it and take that content and organize it around keywords. So essentially, it's going to take that story, the link to the story, throw it in a file folder, name it a whole bunch of different keywords, which are the words that somebody would type into Google to find you, and throw it in the Google file cabinet so that people can find it. That's step one. Now, remember the rule. That content must be fresh, frequent, unique, and unduplicated. So step one is to write content to create keywords. The more keywords that are available, the more ways people can find you. Step two is to now get as many of those keywords as possible to be moved to the front file cabinet, which represents page one on Google. The more keywords that you can create and get to page one, the more ways people can find you. Simple, right? But how? That's where blogs come in. And I talked a little bit earlier about people who spend all this money on their website and then their content remains static. To reiterate, one of the reasons blogs have become so popular is that it allows you to add content easily and often. It's interactive because someone can leave a comment. Guess what? A comment could turn into a lead. It could be a question, a statement that you can follow up on. It's another way to interact with people over and above somebody picking up the phone or emailing you. It also neatly organizes the content that's written to make it really simple for the search engines to crawl it and index it. That's a really important factor when it comes to SEO or search engine optimization. Now, in some cases, depending on where you are in the process, a blog can be your main website. But most of the time, you attach a blog directly to your website. And when you do that, it actually can show Google that your website is being updated when it's the blogging that's doing all the update and the blog itself that's carrying that content. But people get so confused when they say what a blog is. A blog is really a website. See, it has a URL just like any other website. And then the next question I usually get is, well, if I have a website and you're telling me I need a blog and they're both websites, what the heck do I need both for? Well, it's really simple. The reason is, when you think about your website, it's all about you. It's all about the community. It's about your amenities, maybe some testimonials, right? It's all important stuff. But the blog is an extension of you. A blog is where you get to show people how cool it is to live in your community. What are some of the great things that are around your community that would make someone want to live there, right? That's amenities too. Those are things that really can show people that this is, there are things around, things in the community, things that are going on that make me want to live in your community, and also show that you're an expert in your industry. And that's a really important strategy, which brings me to blogging. So what type of content should you write? Well, content could be videos or stories or photos, not just blog posts, okay? But what you want to do is you want to write content that you feel like would be interesting to the type of customer you want to do business with. Because when you do that, that content is going to create keywords. Let's use this story for an example. This is a Fogelman property. We manage many blogs for them. And they have a fitness center in this particular community, Southwind. However, they don't offer classes. So right near that community is Franklin Athletic Center. So we wrote a blog post for them, Boost Your At-Home Workouts with Franklin Athletic Center. And it talks about how great the facility is there, but if you want to go take yoga or spin or whatever, you can go over and do that. And you know what? It's really close to the community. That's an awesome amenity to someone like my wife who's a workout freak, right? I should be more. She is. Anyway, so let me just kind of explain what happens when you write this type of content. So you publish this story. Google's crawling the web looking for content. It sees the story and goes, wait a minute, here's a new piece of content. It's fresh. Question one, do I see this anywhere else on the web? No, I don't. Okay, great. Well, I'm going to index it. Oh, look, you know what? They created some tags down here. What are tags? Tags are the words that are the obvious choices, the ones that you feel like would keep you up at night, okay, if you're not showing up on page one. Doesn't mean just by putting them in there that you're going to show up on page one with it, but you want to constantly present those obvious search terms so that maybe you can break through. So Google's going to see that, see the tags, theoretically take the link that's up here at the top of this page, put it in the file folder, and name it these keywords, and throw it in the Google file cabinet so that people can find it. Because remember, that's its job. Now, step two is it's going to fly through the content of the story really quickly, and this is what people don't realize, and it's going to create other keywords and phrases that it feels like are relevant so that people can find this story that way as well. So every story you write could create anywhere from 10, 20, 30, 40, who knows how many keywords. Okay, and that's where it starts. So the approach is really simple. You're going to flood the internet with lots of content, and when you do that, it's going to create lots of long-tailed search terms to help get your site found. Makes sense? I hope it's starting to click. Don't forget the question box on the right-hand side. Type it in. I will get to your questions at the end. Now, how does social media help? Because everybody that walks in and talks to you about this stuff leads with social media. Well, when you think about it, who would you like your friends and followers to be on Facebook and Twitter? They should be your residents and your prospects. And that's a really great thing, because when you share that content, think about your blog as home base. If you take this content and you feed that content directly into Facebook and Twitter, see how it's the same story? Something cool can happen. Number one, you can keep in touch with your residents and prospects, which has been proven to aid in retention. Number two, they could say, ooh, this is cool. You know, I have a friend that's a workout freak. She's looking for an apartment. Let me go ahead and share this to my wall. And now you just extended that content out and got referral business digitally. Digital word of mouth is what it's called. And it allows you to extend that content to lots and lots of places, out way further than even traditional media can do in a lot of cases. And that's a really cool thing. But what a lot of people don't know is that whenever somebody clicks on this story, okay, it's just a link. All it's going to do is take you back to read the actual full story on the blog. But that's a very important thing. That's called referral traffic. And that's a signal to Google that this story is relevant. So it says, wait a minute, I remember all the keywords that I organized from this content. You know what I need to do? I need to take those keywords that I indexed and phrases, and I need to move them up higher in rank so that people can find it, get it closer to page one. And what happens is when you continually write content to create keywords and you continually feed that content into your social media world, and they what happens is when humans interact with it, it's become its own algorithm in Google's eyes and Bing and Yahoo, and it helps your SEO and it helps your Google page rank, and it helps get those keywords up higher and higher in rank so that people can find it. Is it starting to click? That's how these things work together. You can even use your internet marketing strategy, link people back to the blog. The more interaction you have with that content, the more relevant Google's going to see it, and the more it's going to serve it up to help what's called your organic traffic. Organic traffic means someone typing something into Google and you're coming up in those search results. So it's kind of like while people know you, people who know you are interacting with your content, it's helping people that don't know who you are find you. And that's an incredible strategy. Let me give you an example. So here's that same blog post that was written. So I went to Google and I just typed in apartments near fitness center in Franklin, Tennessee. And look, here's a link to the blog post on page one. Now it's on the bottom of page one, but you know what? You're on page one. You're not always going to show up on the top, right? You get and that's going to shuffle. You know, if you did this search today, you may show up even higher, right? But what's great about it is that when you look down and see the information, you can see right in the body of the text that it really answers the question. It's right near Franklin Athletic Center. That's a good thing when somebody's spot checking to figure out what they're going to click on to be relevant to that searcher. Here's another example. Top 4 things to do with kids in Tulsa. So I have kids, and I typed apartments with kids activities in Tulsa, and you can see here that this blog was served up with a link to that post as the very first organic search on page one. And it really shows that searcher that this community is kid friendly. That's important to me. I'm way more likely to click on this and go directly to it rather than just typing in apartments in Tulsa and trying to figure out who is kid friendly. See what I mean? This is a relevant search that returns a relevant, or that gives a relevant return that's very specific to what the searcher is looking for. And let's face it, I've gotten lazy when I do Google searches. I want an answer to my question fast, or I'm going to refine my search till I get what I want. Here's another example. Go green in your high-rise apartments. Okay, I want to live in a high-rise apartment. Green is important to me. I typed in green high-rise apartments in Evanston, and check this out. The top 3 search returns, because this is a term that was really important, and we continued to push it and push it and push it through content and tagging, that it came up the first 3 organic search returns all linked back to that particular blog. That is real authoritative to a searcher, and they are way more likely to click on it. They basically owned the top part of the first page. That's strong. Last example, neighborhood spas in Rockledge. Hey, I like to go and get my mani-pedis, let's say. I know my wife does, right? So I went in and I typed in apartments near spa in Rockledge, and you can see the top 2 are actually a link back to that post. In all of these scenarios, had we not written content like this, we would not have created those keywords, and these would have been missed opportunities. And there are literally hundreds, thousands of ways that many of these communities can be found, because the more content you write, the more keywords you create, and it continues to grow and grow and grow over time. And you know what? It's better to come up organically than it is to come up in a pay-per-click, because consumers know now that this is paid. It even says ad. Google's not ashamed to admit it, right? So people will look and actually skip these a lot of the times and go right down to where they see the first organic listing, because they know that that came up in a more, not that it's dishonest to do pay-per-clicks. You should have pay-per-clicks in your strategy. There's nothing wrong with it, but it almost has more credibility to that searcher. So coming up organic is really the best way. And that's what we're talking about here. Content that creates organic search that is marketed through social media to help get your site found. Nothing happens if you don't get found first. Now, you can do this on your own. WordPress has templates you can go get. Facebook and Twitter, they're all free. But, we took a look to see what kind of time does it take to actually do this. And just setting up a blog will take you anywhere from 6 to 20 hours to add the templates, plugins, widgets, graphics. You have to map it to your domain so you get SEO value to your site. That takes a couple of hours. Anyway, you see the laundry list of things that you need to do just to set it up. It's going to take anywhere from 10 to 28 hours just to do that. After you have it set up, now the real work starts. You have to continually feed the monster. And there was a study done by the Social Media Examiner back in 2011 on small businesses and the amount of time they're spending to properly do content marketing and social media marketing. 58% are spending 6 hours weekly. 34% are spending 11 plus hours weekly. Really, in our estimation, at least 10 hours is really what it takes to do this properly. So do you have the time to do it? And are you willing to gain the knowledge and experience to do this? One of the things I hear all the time is, we've got this college intern. She's really smart, or he's really smart on Facebook. Okay, I want you to take a step back and think about your overall marketing budget. Would you give your traditional media marketing budget for radio, TV, print, whatever you do online, to a college intern and say, place it? No way. You have to start looking at your internet marketing and social media marketing strategy and content marketing strategy as important as all the other media that you're doing, because it really is, and it's growing more and more and more. And you have to get in the game. So just because someone knows how to use Facebook does not mean they know how to market Facebook. It's no different than somebody that likes to read magazines. Doesn't mean you can publish one, right? So really take a hard look. Now, the intern can really help and do lots of great things, but as far as a strategy, not so much unless somebody's really had a lot of education and experience in it. So at the end of the day, you need to ask yourself one question. If I do this myself or hire someone to do it for me, is it going to cost me money or is it going to make me money? And if you feel like it's going to cost you money, then we have a solution for you. It's called CommunitySherpa, and it's a content marketing solution for the apartment industry. We were the first to enter the space, and we still are the largest. We manage almost 2,000 blogs for all types of businesses, and the largest percentage of them are in the multifamily housing space. Here's what we do with our core program. We will go in and design a WordPress blog, make it look great, and have a look and feel of your main site. We'll map that blog to the subdomain of your site. We will set up Google. That's how you get Google Juice and SEO value to your main site. We'll also set up Google Analytics so you can measure results for us too, because we want to know what's working and what's not. We'll even give you a call tracking number if you like, so you can track the number of phone calls that come from your blog. Then we're going to either set up Facebook and Twitter for your business, or we're going to ask for the admin rights to what you already have set up so that we can connect it directly to your blog. So we designed the blog, connect it to Facebook and Twitter. Now the real work begins. This is where we're really going to do the heavy lifting for you, and this is what separates us from any other offering out there, because we're the only one that actually will write original, unique content for you often. So you have the internet out here. Let me just kind of explain this diagram. That's organizing content so people like us can find it. You have consumers that are searching for all sorts of things. And then here's you. You've got lots of information about your community. You've got photos. You've got events. You've got things that are going on that you want to share with your residents and the world. And here's your account manager. Your account manager and your online content manager is going to say, tell us about your community. What makes you special? What are your residents like? Who are your residents? Who are you trying to attract? What are your keyword strategies now that you're thinking about? And then we're going to put together a content strategy that's going to be focused on hyper-local content, because we've learned from the over 1,000 blogs in the apartment industry that we're currently managing that hyper-local content really is a good strategy to drive traffic and engagement and help you with conversion. And then we're physically going to write, tag, and post 8 pieces of original, unique content for you per month that auto-feed directly to Facebook and Twitter. And we're also going to write 8 pieces of unique content to Facebook and Twitter every month as well. So basically 24 pieces of unique content every single month for you. We're also going to monitor comments on your blog. In other words, nobody can leave a post on your blog unless we allow it to post. And if we see something that needs your attention, we will alert you. We'll also email you those analytics every month, and anytime you want to review those with your account manager, they're willing. We'll also give you that call tracking number, and we have assistants on sites to help you with other things you're trying to learn about to grow social media and whatnot that's available to you. We do all this for only $380 per month, and it's a 13-month contract. So there are other offers out there, but I'm telling you, most of the things that we're seeing, in fact 95%, are all self-serve software options. And I want to explain something to you. We've been doing this now for almost 4 years. And one of the things that we know we need help with, okay, really 2 things is what we need for you to be successful. Number 1 is give us 30 or 45 minutes a month to tell us what you like, give us content ideas, and give us direction on what's going on in your community. Because no one knows better than you about what's going on in your community. That's number 1. Number 2 is grow your social media fans and followers. We don't know your prospects and customers. You do. And residents, you do. So we're happy to give you direction on how to do that, but take steps to get them to like you on Facebook and follow you on Twitter. Because the more people you have in that world, the more engaging you're going to have, and the more it will help your SEO as well. So the reason I bring up point 1, being involved, and why these self-serve software solutions are not really a great strategy for you, is that in our history, we find that about 40% of our clients will give us that 30 to 45 minutes a month. So you can imagine if you had to do this on a self-serve level, we can't get people sometimes to give us direction. And we have a great strategy if you can't give us direction, okay? Because we know hyper-local content is a really important thing. But we also know it works better when you give us a little direction. So imagine if you bought a self-serve software, it could be a sunk cost where you buy the software and you're not doing the actual work. So what makes us really different than all these other offerings is that we do the work for you, and don't underestimate the amount of time it takes, because literally it takes us about 10 hours a week per client to do this properly, and we're really proficient at what we do. So why do people buy Sherpa? They want to attract online traffic. They want to find new customers. They want content that makes them look like the expert that they know they are. They want to generate leads, because you always need more leads. And you know a social media presence is really important. And it's going to save you a ton of time and a ton of money. And that's all going to equal your ROI. Now, if you have 25 communities or more, reach out to us because we have some other solutions that may be a better fit for you and actually be at a lower cost, because we have Community Sherpa Network Basic and Community Sherpa Network Professional. So let us know on that. If you also are just looking for a solution to engage residents and prospects, ask us about Community Sherpa Lite. That's another option. It has less SEO value. It has a little bit, but it can get you to dip your toe into the space. So ask us about that, and we're happy to talk to you about it. Now, how do you find out more about Community Sherpa and our offerings? Because we have many different offerings to fit whatever your needs are. All you have to do is go to community-sherpa.com and request a consult, or you can email me directly, or if you're working with an apartment finder representative in your community, they know all about this program, you can reach out to them directly. So I want to open the floor for any questions, and I'm going to go over to the question screen in a minute, and I want to thank you very much for your time. Okay, so